Today, we're going to break down the recent sale of a true American icon, Denny's. And trust me, it's a story with a lot more going on than you might think. We're talking big money, some really sharp strategy, and what it all means for the future of a brand we all know. Okay, let's just start with the number that got everyone's attention. $620 million. That is a huge price tag, and it tells you right off the bat that this was a massive, game-changing deal. And look, we're not just talking about some random restaurant chain. This is Denny's. For so many of us, it's been a part of the American landscape forever, right? It's the spot for late-night coffee, family breakfasts, and of course, the Grand Slam. This isn't just selling a business, it's selling a piece of our culture. But here's the thing. As big as that number is, it's not even the most interesting part of this story. What makes this so fascinating is what was happening behind the scenes, right before this deal went public. So how did this whole thing even happen? Well, to really get it, you have to rewind a little and look at a pretty big decision Denny's made just before they signed on the dotted line. Here's a number for you, 150. Just keep that number in your head for a second. But 150 what? Yup, that's right. Just before this $620 million sale, Denny's shut down 150 of its restaurants. Now, this wasn't some random panic move. It was a calculated strike, targeting the locations that just weren't pulling their weight. Which, of course, makes you ask the obvious question. What was going on here? Was the company in trouble? Or was this a clever way to clean house and make the company look a whole lot better to a potential buyer? Well, the official story from Denny's was pretty straightforward. They said the locations they closed were either way too old to renovate without breaking the bank, or they were just in areas that weren't making any money. In other words, they were trimming the fat to present a leaner, more attractive company. So who exactly put up all that cash for this newly streamlined Denny's? Let's take a look at the group that's now calling the shots. The new ownership isn't just one company. It's a team-up. You've got two private equity firms, Triartisan Capital Advisors and Triville Capital Group. You can think of them as the money guys. But then, and this is the really interesting part, you have Yadav Enterprises, which is actually one of the biggest Denny's franchisees out there. So you're blending Wall Street smarts with people who actually know how to run a Denny's day-to-day. That's a pretty potent mix. And of course, right after a big sale, you have to reassure everyone. The CEO of Denny's, Kelly Valade, put out a statement that was all about stability and looking ahead. It was a clear message. This is about growth, not about tearing things apart. It's a signal that they want to keep the brand consistent for all the loyal customers. Now, closing 150 locations definitely sounds like a big deal, but to really put that number in perspective, you need to see just how massive the Denny's operation still is. Even after shutting all those doors, Denny's still has over 1,500 restaurants running. Let that sink in. That firmly plants them as one of the biggest full-service restaurant chains in the entire country. They're a true giant. And this chart right here, this really shows you the secret to their success. The vast majority of Denny's locations are run by franchisees, local business owners, not by the parent company. So why does that matter? Well, this model is what allowed the brand to expand so fast across the country without needing a ton of corporate cash. It's the engine behind their nationwide presence. You know, to really appreciate why this sale is such a big story, it helps to take a quick look back at where Denny's even came from. It's a classic American success story, through and through. Believe it or not, this whole thing started way back in 1953 as a humble little donut shop in California. Just a donut shop. By 59, the menu grew, and it became Denny's Coffee Shops. And from there, it just kept evolving over the decades into the full-service, 24/7 diner we all know today, eventually shortening its name to just Denny's. So, here we are. After a long and storied history, a major sale, and a big strategic shakeup. What's next for the brand? Where does Denny's go from here? When you boil it all down, this is what you're left with. You have a classic, beloved brand trying to navigate all the tough challenges of the modern food industry. And now, its fate is in the hands of a totally new management team. And that leaves us with the big $620 million question, doesn't it? In a world where tastes are always changing and the competition is fierce, can this new ownership group find a way to make Denny's just as relevant for the next generation as it was for the last? Only time is going to tell.